Hello everyone, I'm Robert Hisee. Most of you will know me, but for you that don't, I'm the UK's #1 unconscious mind therapist. And welcome to the MindKite podcast.
Hi, I'm Robert Hisee and welcome to the MindKite podcast. And today we have a very, very special guest. Not only is she a lady, she's a dame. We have Dame Kelly Holmes, one of our beautiful, wonderful Olympians who's had a double gold medal in 2004. At the Athens
That's
Olympics.
Right. Oh my gosh, how long ago was that?
Absolutely amazing. So we're really honoured today to have you here with us, Kelly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to start, if you don't mind, us going back to the early Kelly, the little girl, the young Kelly. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself when you was growing up, and how did you get into sports? You know, how did you get this vision to focus since you was a kid? I mean, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yep, so I grew up in a village called Hildenborough, where we are right now. And I grew up there just as a normal kid, mother. So my mother was from Great Britain, had me when she was 17 years old. So I was kind of just a mixed race kid in the 70s that came down to Kent. And grew up kind of just, I suppose, only really being good at sport. You know, when
even at school?
I was no good at school at all. Like, I remember going to secondary school and I was the child outside this classroom. Like, literally, I was the child outside the classroom.
Disruptive, would you
but
say?
you know, like the learning they did back then was all very conducive to people that could learn and listen. And you know, if a French teacher's teaching you and you're talking in French and you have no idea, and the way that you learn isn't just to be spoken to in French, you might need a picture painted or kind of broken down. And I felt like at that age, like not having an identity, because I was always the naughty kid almost, even though I was polite and all of that, I just couldn't learn. So it was my PE teacher actually in school, because growing up here, so how I really got into sport, I wasn't really good as a younger child at sport. I give up on everything. I mean, if I couldn't do it, it's like, sack it. I was like a gymnast and played dumb majorettes and just gave it all up. And when I was at primary school, just in the village here, sports day was brilliant because I loved it, just getting out and about. But it was the old sack races and the kind of egg and spoon race. I actually wasn't that great at running, to be honest. And so when I went to secondary school, the reason why I got into sport was my PE teacher. Do you know there's sometimes, as you know, in life, one person that can literally get in your soul and really believe in you, kind of look you in the eye, and almost that purpose of them saying, you can be good, but if you don't, it's almost like someone believing in me. So my PE teacher...
You seem like you remember that very well, like you can feel it.
Debbie Page, she's a friend of mine now,
wow, amazing.
Because she literally was the only person at school that I felt
actually believed me. Do you remember what she said, the first sort of words she was saying?
Yeah, she told me to get a grip. Because she said you could actually be really good at what you do, running, but you're never going to do it if you don't, one, believe it, and two, kind of focus on it. And she got me to do this cross-country race. Wow, I mean, cross-country with an afro, with white plimsolls, high-knee white socks, skirt and an Airtex see-through shirt. That's not what you want to be running in, right? And I remember being forced onto the bus to go and do this cross-country race, and I was like, oh my gosh, and with my attitude, it's like, no. And she said, you will, so off I went. And I came second to this girl that had been known in our area to kind of win everything, all the schools, all the Kent stuff. And I was leading with
that was your first one?
Yeah, it's my first competition ever, proper competition. And I remember overtaking me with about 30 metres to go and feeling that pit in my stomach of losing. It was the first time that I actually cared about anything.
Wow.
I think that's a big part of when you like something, you really care
passion,
about it, right? And I just thought, and she said to me, she asked my mum to take me to the local track, Tunbridge Athletics track, and it all began there.
Wow.
I think I was active anyway, because I used to bike to school. We didn't have a bus, so I used to bike to school 3 miles, bike to the track, and then bike back, and that was my life.
Fit anyway, just not. Yeah. That was just normal. Weren't even.
Well, I just liked being fit and active. When I was a kid doing paper rounds from the shop that used to be here, I'd do two loads, you know. I'd run round the first one and get the bike round the second one because actually it added to my training.
I love what you just said. I've got to talk that story in about the shop as well, because you said earlier that you used to work in a paper shop in this building.
Well, no, so this is the new building. So on this site, there was an old...
on this?
Yeah, there was an old sweet shop. And I was a paper round girl, and then I worked in the shop when I was 16. Tell you what, that's my first bit of discipline. Don't tell people about this. So I've got a really bad sweet tooth. And it was the old jar sweets, you know. You know, the quarter sweets or whatever it was back then, and the half penny and the 1 penny sweets. And I was just like in my element, you know. Can you imagine being a kid? You just nick everything, all the sweets. You know, you drop a few when you serve on the side just by mistake. You have to eat them. And this woman, Carol, who worked here as well, said to me, right, let's see who can not eat sweets for the longest. Suddenly I'm like, oh my God, she's challenged me. 1 whole year. Not one sweet passed my lips for 1 whole year. Wow. That shows discipline, doesn't it? But yeah, so I was an active child, and I think that was it. And I think what made me believe in myself was having somebody else believe in me. Then I watched the Olympic Games.
And that, what you watched the Olympic Games and that
when I was 14. Watched the Olympic Games when I was 14. Saw Sebastian Coe win the 1500 metres for Great Britain. And I knew that day I wanted to be Olympic champion.
Serious?
Yeah,
just like...
I knew it. I just felt goosebumps, literally, hair, goosebumps. I was at home, in the house, back there, and...
I love the fact you said you want to be Olympic champion at that
felt
age.
it, yeah, I just felt it.
It's funny, Eddie Eagle said, when he was about younger, he said he sees someone with the great British tracksuit on, he said, I'd really love to wear that tracksuit for my country, and he'd done exactly that.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it shows you where you put your intention is where your destiny lies. So how did it go from then, Kelly? From, you know, going from that child into just, you know, getting into fitness, into the track running, and having that person that believed in you, because I believe, you know, everyone needs someone in their life to, you know, believe in them, to give them that push, as you said. So what happened when you got into the running? So when you was like 14, 15, because then you went from into the army. So how did that join up from being an athlete into the army? Yeah, so I won my first English schools when I was 13. So a year after, 6 months after doing that cross-country champ. So All England Schools Championships is the biggest thing, you know, for our age group then. So I won that. Then I, you know, got seconds and thirds, and I became 16 and, you know, kind of whatever. Anyway, then when I was 17, I got selected to run for Great Britain in the Mini Youth Olympic Games in Holland. Wow. And I went over, I was entered into 800, and I used to run 1500, and I ended up winning. And I stood on a rostrum with a British flag flying, amazing. National anthem playing, and gold medal when I was 17. That is sick. Yeah, and so that was my first taste of, I suppose, Olympic life, or and that dopamine, not life. That dopamine rush of like achievement, like must have felt amazing. It really was, but I suppose as a young person, it was almost like still fluffy cloud. You know, it's because to be in the Olympics, you're normally a senior, you know, an older person, and our age group, and plus, you know, I was still a kid and just left school, and then actually at the same time. When I was 14, I also wanted to be in the army. So I think the sense of purpose, camaraderie, meeting new people and being someone, given I knew that I was going to leave school with no exam results, which I didn't when I left school. I got a job really early on as a nursing assistant. I love this. And content you're saying now, I thrive on this stuff. I left school at 14. I mean, all the people on my podcast, I'd say 99% of them have said the same thing. Well, I finished school, but I wasn't no good. Most of them, a lot of them left at 4. I think Wayne Lineker, he left at 14. You know, there's a lot of people, you know, these big high achievers who've got vision, and I love hearing this. It gets me excited when I hear great people, especially like Dame Kelly Holmes, saying that I was no good at school, because it gives people hope. Because I think they treat all these kids with one type of intelligence, and it's academic, and we know there's 9 types of intelligence now. And, you know, like David Beckham, for instance, his emotional intelligence is good. That feeling he's got on the touch of a ball. You know, there's so many different types, and we judge everyone on one, but it's studies show that 87% of self-made millionaires are dyslexic or dyspraxic, which also new studies prove on brain scans that they have ADHD. So there's people out there with ADHD don't realise they're either dyslexic or dyspraxic, and there's people out there with dyslexic and dyspraxic don't really realise they have ADHD, because, you know, the help's not out there. So I love this, because I think, you know, I've got ADHD, so growing up, it never existed. I used to think I was thick, I was stupid. you know, I was dumb. So I had to think outside the box.
We're talking of that. I spoke to Robert. Speaking of that, I spoke to Rory Bremner, and he got diagnosed at 50.
Amazing.
I did a podcast with him, and he got diagnosed at 50 with ADHD.
Yeah.
And then he used to question himself. So when I'm talking to him, he's questioning himself about his ability to be good at what he did.
Yeah.
And he's now saying, "Is that why I'm good?" And I was like, "Do you
Exactly.
care?" It's like,
yeah,
okay, that might be why you're good. And great, take it, you know. But having those questions as you go through life.
It actually is why he's good, because what I've learned with ADHD is they say, oh, you can't focus. It's a load of rubbish. You can't focus on something that you don't care about. You know, you used to have that thing in your stomach when you run, that feeling. Now it meant something to you. Now you fucking hyper-focus.
Yeah.
You don't just focus like some normal kid. Now you're fucking obsessed. It's like autistic traits kick in. You're like, you can't get it out of your head every morning and night. And I play guitar like Jimmy Eric Clapton. I play golf in single figures, and I'm beating therapists around the world, and let's go at 14. Because when I find something I like, my ADHD is my friend, and this is what I teach all kids with ADHD.
Yeah.
Don't let them tell you you're thick. It just means you don't care what they're teaching. Like, you can try to care. It doesn't mean you're ignorant. You can try to learn what they're teaching you, but it won't go in.
No,
but when
until you find something that you want.
Or the teacher can find that. I believe there should be ADHD schools, because I had a guy come to me, ADHD, he never liked to read and write. I'm crap at school, but he wants to be a rapper, right? So I said, well, you've got to start writing songs. How can I help you out if you're not going to start writing songs? Anyway, about 2 months I was seeing for. He showed me the amount of writing he'd done. He'd done page after page after page of lyrics. So, do you see what I mean? You could have got that kid to learn to read and write by just getting him straight, you know, getting him writing first of all.
Yeah.
And then you can start teaching him how to spell. It's just got the different ways of training people, and they're treating us all the same, because academic intelligence, to me, makes good workers for other people's dreams, which is fine if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer. That's perfect. That's your vision. There's no, listen, I wish I was more academic. I wish I was,
right?
Everyone needs everyone, But without vision, you can't go anywhere. Do you know what I mean? And academic intelligence ain't going to, you know, if you want to create something in your life, it don't matter what it is, if it is being academic or if it's being your own business owner or something even spiritual, you've got to be able to create a vision of what you want and know where you're going.
Absolutely. And, which is most of it, right? For anybody.
Anybody. And, you know, some people will go, how do you use visualizations? They go, what do you mean, like on holiday or what? Like dreaming, what are you talking about? And I talk to people like yourself, a vision, then you just tell me a million stories. You know? But every successful Premiership player, you go, do you ever visualise? And they tell you a story about it. And it's just, they don't realise it's just naturally their first way of thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how did it find, so you visualise this army. This is amazing. So you was 40, you visualise yourself in the army. And what was that like for a young girl going into the British Army? Is it tough? I mean, is it mentally tough? Is there bullying in there, or is it what would you?
So when I joined, it was what's called the Women's Royal Army Corps. So up until 1992, there was a Women's Royal Army Corps, and that's what you joined as a female. So went to Guildford, that was where my training depot was, 6 weeks, got off a bus at Guildford, another 29 people that were going to be in my training platoon from all over the country. And you go into barracks and it's just straight away, it's like discipline, you know, straight as you're in there, get it like, you know, line up there, you just think, you know, you kind of don't move. And when you're a young kid, you know, if you're used to kind of gobbing off a bit, as soon as you're in there, you're just like, you know, because you know you're in trouble. You know. But it was just, I loved it. I really loved it. One, because I wanted to be in since I was 14. You couldn't join then until you're 17 and 9 months. So I'd done my last international event. I won the Olympic Youth Games, and then I'd won the last international event, left home, my coach was devastated, crying, because he thought, you know, you wanted to be Olympic champion and now you're giving it up. But because I wanted, these were two of my dreams, so, you know, so I went into the army, joined, went through training. Yeah, and it's tough mentally, just because you've got people, you know, knocking you down to build you up almost, you know, and tough you are at it without saying how tough you want to be. You just listen, you just have to. And I suppose it takes a trait to do that. You know what I mean? Yes. Not many people can be told what to do, and, you know, and I probably wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't make it now. No. I actually had to join again. Even though I am a colonel with the Royal Army Corps now. Brilliant. Yeah, I was appointed that in 2018, so I am back into uniform. Amazing. However, when I was a kid, I loved just becoming someone. I wanted to have a career. I felt like growing up down here, leaving school with no exam results, even though I got a job like at a nursing kind of home, I I just felt there was nothing for me here, you know, because what was I going to do? I didn't want to work in a shop, you know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do something. So going in the army gave me a life, a career.
And is it like a little family in there? Because a lot of people say it's like a little family when you get in there.
Oh yeah, the camaraderie, and that's, you know, you speak to any military person, one of the best reasons being in the military is that, you know, because you will live together, you're all going through the same hell, you're all going through the same experiences, especially in training.
And do you think that had a big part to do with your Olympic career later on?
Well,
the
so
discipline side,
yeah, I mean, I joined as a heavy goods vehicle driver when I first joined, and then I wanted to be a physical training instructor. So becoming a physical training instructor really helped with that switch into athletics, because physically I was very strong, and mentally back then, because actually...
And how long did you serve?
Nearly 10 years.
Wow.
But, you know, when you're female in the military, taking mainly men, you've got to step up to the plate in terms of physically being as strong, if not stronger than them, so that you can prove yourself. I mean, what people forget with the argument about women and men, as women, we feel we're constantly having to try and prove, especially in a physical domain, because you want to show that yours equal. So women have to try even more mentally harder to think, right, I'm going to prove to you I'm good, whereas a guy just expects to do it. No disrespect, but that's where you can become tougher as a person, you know. So I had to take soldiers for their physical training. If I'm going to tell them something, I know I'm going to be able to do it first. And so for me to be able to give them something hard, I have to train myself. And that's always a mindset thing. I could have just been a PTI female that screamed and shouted and had no respect whatsoever, because I've just got to be a woman that had a bit of power. Whereas if I showed them, demonstrated, told them what to do, and I could do it and know full well that most of them wouldn't be able to do it, ultimately, you know, straight away you get that, you gain respect through that means. So I actually became so strong as a female that when I got back into athletics through the army as well, I was, you know, I was kind of untouchable when I first started.
Would you say there was a trainer that could push you further than yourself at that point then, or was you so focused and pushed, like, you know, driven, that there weren't even a trainer that you couldn't push you further than what you would have gone to? Well,
I gave up my athletics career to join the army because I just wanted to be a soldier first and foremost. And they found out I was a good athlete because I was beating all the guys. So that was quite good. And then I watched another Olympic Games, actually. This is how I got back into international athletics. I was 22, serving full time in the army, watched another Olympic Games, saw a girl that I used to run against in Kent, from Kent, in those Olympics. And I was just like, wow. And it reignited my fire and passion for the other dream, because I knew I was good at it.
And how did you get in it through the army, or was it you left?
No, so, well, I was still in the army when I got into it, but I used my leave to go away. I was asked to go to a national championships. This is how it went. I got asked to go to a national championships, and it was in '93, and it was going to be the World Championships in Stuttgart that year. And I was announced on the starting line as Corporal Holmes. No one knew who I was, and always told by this guy is just chase the girls because they're going for the world qualifying time. So they said just chase them. So I did, and I won. And I beat the girls and qualified for the World Championships in this one race. Suddenly I was like, oh my God, how did this happen? So I'm off on a bloody plane with a British team, you know, with Linford Christie, Sally Gunnell, Colin Jackson. I've got an army head on, and suddenly I'm in a team with these like world-class, Olympic champions, Sally and Linford, the year before. And then what was a real test of mindset and power is that after those games, I got the English record. I think I got a semi-final. I flew back, and I had to go and stag on in the army and do guard duty. So stag on is like in a hut, basically, with your weapon, combats, guarding the barracks like all night, because I changed all my leave to go and do that, because I was very much of an impression that you do something 100% or don't do it. Yeah. And I always felt that if I got given the chance to go away and compete, if I came back, they'd say, oh, you only do what you do because you're a good athlete, as opposed to be a good soldier and a good PTI. So that was to my detriment, because
I was standards in yourself, haven't
always. I mean, it's not always the best thing to have, is it? But it is to a certain degree, but sometimes it can be detrimental to your, you know, if you're a bit of a perfectionist, then sometimes that's not great. But no, so that was a mindset transition of how can I be a good soldier and a good athlete, and both of them take discipline and commitment. And so that's what the crossover was.
And then you come out of the army and went in, focused more onto the athletic side?
Yeah, well, after that year, I ended up the following year. So I stayed in the army for another 3 years, and I won Commonwealth Games gold, European silver, 2 World Championship medals. I went to my first Olympic Games while I was still in the army, and still losing my leave. I went to Olympic Games.
And what process would you use in these races? Like through like visualisations?
Yeah.
I'm obviously a right pest when it comes to visualising.
Yeah.
What sort of things would you practice on a daily basis? Did you always see yourself winning the race? Did you see did you used to like sit in bed at night and sometimes still work on your technique and things like that? Was there anything like that
Yeah, I think early days it was almost just run, because I didn't really know any different. I wasn't fearful of anyone when I first came out, because I didn't know anyone. You know, when you just get catapulted into world sport, suddenly you're just there, another runner. So actually at the beginning there was no fear, and so the process of visualisation was just, you know, you've got to run at that race, you know what your target is, you know what you're expected, you know if you've got to qualify or get a time, and you just go through that race strategy that you have. The time that I blew it, and which changed my mind, was actually for World Championships. I was getting ready, and I was favourite to win gold medal. This was back in '95, and favourite to win gold. And I remember waking up in the morning. It's 1,500 metres, and it's waking up, and all I could think about was this like race, but in a real, almost negative way, pressured way. And I remember like thinking, oh, it's 10 hours, it'd be over, like 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, okay, every hour, you know, and then it was 2 hours, we'd go to the track. I was thinking 2 hours would be over, 1 hour be over. You know, I'm warming up, looking at my watch, thinking, and all I could see of anything that I opened or thought was like the track and me losing. I kept just seeing this thing. And I got to the track, I looked at the clock, I was thinking, oh my God, 4 minutes would be over. I started the race off, I get to lap count of 3 laps, 2 laps, 1 lap. And my biggest rival, Hisee, she was quite a dirty runner in lots of ways, but a dirty runner. She kept slopping down. I could see everybody in that race, everybody. I could see them pushing pot, and then she just went, and I lost it. I should have won that race, and it was the worst feeling ever of not being in control of my own thought process and visualising a positive
You was visualising
way.
the opposite.
I was visualising panic, distress,
and you got
outcomes.
It. You created it.
Created it all. Literally.
I love that. Because everyone likes talking about the positive visualisations.
Yeah.
It proves that, you know, why people's lives ain't going good, because they do have these thoughts of what could go wrong, what we've got to overcome to be successful.
Yeah.
I want to start a business, but if I lose that money and don't pay this, I lose my mortgage, and you put all these things in, and that's exactly what happens. Like
You're thinking of an outcome before you've even stepped on the line, and whatever it is.
So you've got to make sure you choose the one you want straight away.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's,
So then I left the army anyway, basically. I left in '97, year after I'd...
What happened with the vision after that? Was you wanted that to enter your mind again? It was like, from now on, I'm seeing myself.
I hated losing, and I still had the 800 metres to do after, and so it's still a heat, semi and final. And what happened is that I could either give up and not take part because I was so disappointed, like I let that get to me, or I could stand on the start line and go again. And I wasn't favourite to get a medal in that race, and I got a bronze. You know, and that bronze was far better than the silver in terms of the achievement. Because I had to change my mind to be ready. I mean, you know, there was tenths of seconds that separated first and third. It wasn't, you know, but and I think that was, as a mindset and somebody being able to switch, you know, flick that switch into,
you know, you've got it in you.
You have to be able to sometimes do that, or we fail in life. Yeah, but in life, don't you? If you cannot flick that switch, you will fail, and you could be the best thing that ever happened.
Good example, Tyson Fury, when you got knocked out and he got up and come back. It was exactly what
it's
you were
like,
saying. Is that the champions always seem to be able to dig that bit deeper, no matter what they're up against.
Yeah,
they seem to,
I'd say that.
And then, how was it the Athens and the Olympics? That must have been absolutely...
Yeah, completely different. You know, I'd come off of
was
the
all
back
your friends
of...
and family there? And
No one. No, they didn't travel. No, I didn't want... No, because I remember the only games they came to was Commonwealth Games in Manchester, and all I kept thinking about, are they there? Have they got up there okay? Are they thinking? You know, it's like, luckily I won that one. It didn't affect me too much. But no, so Athens was different. You know, it's the first year in 7 I hadn't had an injury. I'd had 7 years of quite bad injuries and illnesses, and I'd had operations, stomach, I'd had personal things. I had my first breakdown a year before. There's so many things that had happened that in 2004, it was almost like, in my head, nothing else can go wrong. Like, no bad stuff can go any worse than I'd had it. So I had to employ that sort of team around me without really telling them what was happening mentally. I had to get this team to believe in me as much as I believed in myself. And sometimes we always need somebody else that gives us that kind of inner confidence.
Because that's an amazing thing, that just before you win the Olympics, a year before, you hit a low point, your first sort of breakdown. How did you manage to get out? What was the process for you out of that? So like, if you'd advise other people when they're down in them dark places where you can't see the light, how did you manage to get through them times?
Well, my getting through it was still having that visualisation, that dream of being Olympic champion, holding on to the light, you know, instead of letting it go, just keeping hold of it, you know, really.
Beautiful.
And I think for me it was that if I can go through all of this and not give up now, then I can only go a step better.
Forever.
You know what I mean? And that's really what was happening at the worst time in my life. I was still holding on to something.
I love this. I just see a thing the other day with Conor McGregor saying, what makes a champion is like anyone can visualise when they're in a good emotion, when things are going good. If you've got £1 million in the bank, you can easily visualise a new Mercedes, right?
Yeah.
But it's when you ain't got nothing and in times of trouble.
Yeah.
He said, I think the actual words are, in times of trouble, I can still visualise my good outcomes. That's what makes me different. Is that in my hard times, I'm going through the dark patches, I'll still visualise greatness.
Yeah.
Still
and that's what I think I did. You know, I still visualised myself being Olympic champion, still wanted it. You know, you have to remember that that's the thing, and you know it anyway, the power of that mind, because when I was at my darkest place, I was still having to run at a World Championships, and I was at the depth of despair on the floor, crying. Being self-harmer, still having to come out of that apartment, like no one knew what was going on, still have to stand on a start line and no one knows, and I won a silver medal at those World Championships.
Wow.
So that again is that holding on to the visualisation of what that can keep so many people alive, having that one
that vision,
one bit that why they're living. What, you know, we've all got something why we enjoy who we are or what we want.
Definitely.
It's when people forget all of those things, you know, and start to doubt any of those being essential to their journey, isn't it?
Yes.
But my journey was to be Olympic champion. I wasn't going to give up on it.
And so when you achieved that, that must have been like incredible to come through.
Yeah.
A year ago, you know, that's all that. You must be really proud of yourself. It must be nice for people to be proud of you, but to look back on your life and think, fuck me, I've been through all that, and I've still managed to come out. Like, it must.
Yeah, I mean, really important. Very proud. You know, it takes other people around you. You know, my physio actually kept me injury free. You know, there's other things that kind of contribute to it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. But because it gives you more power to talk now, more authentically. That even though you're successful, you can still have both sides.
Bad times after the Olympics, because once the vision's created, you normally find that's when people fucking start going down. Once they've achieved their goal, like Tyson Fury did the first time round, he went on, you know, put loads of weight on, because once they lose that vision, you get caught in the here and now, and then that's just spending money, sort of trying to make your days go by. And was that an hard time for you to?
Yeah, and you still have those. Because you know, you have to remember, I got catapulted. Literally, everybody knew I was. I was the only person in, well, God knows, I can remember how many years, 80-odd years, to win 2 gold medals for the country. Yes. You know, so you have all of that, and it wasn't my vision was never any of that. It was only ever winning gold medals. So for me now, the drive was like, what do I still go for? What, you know, great opportunities, loads of things happen to you when you've reached the top. It's amazing, but that's not why you exist. That's not what drives you personally. Yeah. I was driven by achievement and seeing myself go from here to there and knowing I could do it. Whereas when that's finished, it's like, well, what am I driving for next?
What do I?
Just having to try and create the next big vision. But the next big vision doesn't come. As much as you try and recreate the next massive goal, it will never be as powerful, because that was just, that I didn't create that other goal, it came to me. Being Olympic champion was me watching, thinking, I'm going to do it. It just came to me. I didn't have to think, oh, if I watch an Olympic Games, will I get the drive to be good? You know, so having to recreate a dream of something is never going to be the same. So you almost feel and doubt yourself, is that fulfilling enough? Are you still achieving? And it's obvious in sport, it's very black and white. Yes. You win, you lose, you get a PB, you don't, you're good, you're not. You know, whereas in life generally, it's judgmental, isn't it? It's people giving you that opening or, you know, giving you a contract, or, you know, you kind of do a great talk, but do you know if you've done a great one unless they feed back to you? Or,
Yes, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's kind of, so yeah, I went
It's a
through
new
ups and
game.
downs, but I think that's, you know, your mindset changes and you have to then learn how to adapt what you feel about yourself. You know, I've had to learn to think what makes me happy, that might not be as big as what I did before,
Yes.
what I enjoy, that might give me a sense of achievement, but might not be as much. And I still go through it. I still go through that. I've done so many things, like literally so many things, and achieved so much, but you're still striving. And that's the worst thing, because I want to strive to something good. I still want to be good.
I think that is a great thing, because when I get so many clients that come in my practice and I go, what do you want? They go, I just want to be happy, or I want to be content and happy. I go, what? You can't just be happy or content, because, you know, you need, happiness comes from achieving or moving towards something.
Yeah.
Even in sometimes a struggle, you're happy because you know you're a bit closer to your goal.
Yeah.
And happiness is the effect of your movement. It's not something you can just be. Because I said to someone the other day, I said, if you just sat here happy and you're going, I like cakes, I like chocolate cakes, you can put them in a straitjacket, wouldn't you? Like, you can't just be happy. You need to have something to be happy for, you know, more than a cake. So that's just temporary. So, you know, it is about creating this vision and moving forward to be happy. So I understand that, you know, I don't ever want to retire because of that same thing. You know, once you retire, your mind's going, oh, I'm packing in to die now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm getting ready to die now. I might as well sit go on holiday. You know, it won't be long now.
Sounds like a nice life, but
yeah, sod that. I want to keep going and going and going. All that retirement game's no good.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's that moving forward. So, what are your plans now for the future? What's the plans for?
Well, still creating things, you know. I like the sense of...
So you do a lot for mental health yourself.
Yeah.
You're a big advocate for mental health.
Yeah, so I basically do global speaking, motivation and inspiration, but obviously mental health's a massive thing in the workplace.
Yeah.
But also I think the correlation between my old career as being a physical training instructor, I'm a qualified PT as well, and how you link mindset and fitness is really important to me.
Yes.
Getting people to stay active and to keep their body active, but mainly, can people achieve more than they ever think that possible? Because most people feel so down when they feel like that's their level. They're not going to get anyone. They mirror themselves on somebody else's achievement. They see someone else doing it. Same in fitness. You know, I started a community called Munich Emotion in the lockdown, and all it was about, can I get people who either haven't done fitness for ages, a bit older, maybe kind of think there's no chance, or actually they do fitness but they never ever get the most out of themselves, because there's a difference between fitness or working out and training, and that's mindset. That's the difference between working out, going through a motion, doing exercise, saying I've done an hour in the gym, to training for something. So I've started doing all these challenges, and they have to do, and there could be 7 days long, could be 2 weeks, could be a month. And there's a starting point, there's the end, and the whole premise of it is, yes, keeping them fitter, but can I change their mindset? And every single one that's involved have changed their attitude and behaviours to their normal life as well.
That resonates with me big time, because I remember, like, when I've done marathons, for me to get up and go and run 3 miles now, I'll get up and have a run, but probably like a mile or two, but I'll do it on the treadmill a bit and things. But when I was in a marathon, I'd get up and run, my lowest run would be 8 miles a day. Yeah. And then the weekends I'd do 18 or 12 miles every Sunday, and I loved it. And
it's purpose though, isn't it?
Yeah, but the minute the marathon stops, I find it hard to get out the door. I think, like, I'll go for a run, I'll do a little, I don't do 3 miles, then all of a sudden they get smaller and smaller and smaller, and before you know it, you're just running around a park for an hour, and you've
it's the same with everyone, same with me. You know, I'm better when I've got something, I've written it down and I've gone like, oh, I'm going there.
Because some people can just train every day, can't you? Get some digital-minded people who just like to have their things in the right boxes, and they just...
Well, that's their endorphin, and it's great that they do that, but it's like most of them then say, oh, but I've not got any faster, I've not got any stronger, because you do the same thing every day. So you've got it better. I mean, it's better to do something than nothing, let's face it, but my premise is like, can I push people to change their ability to be better than they think they can? And then that's just making them, generally it's making them happier because they're part of a community.
Isn't it weird, right? You get a little kid at 3 or 4 years old and you go, what do you want to be? I want to be a rocket man. Or they think they're a ninja and they're doing kung fu moves, and they've got all this belief in themselves that they're the best. And I'm better than you, I'm better than you. And all of a sudden they get to school, and the time they come out of school, they're full of fear. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
You know, what do you want to be? I don't know. I don't know what I want to be. They just panic. It's like, where does that change go from this young kid having all this, no fear, no worries, no anxiety to,
And you think it's
10 years
instilled?
later,
Do you think some of that fear is instilled in people, though?
I think it's from the schooling system, truthfully do. I think because academic intelligence teaches, without vision, it's dangerous, I think. I'll tell you why. They teach us how not to make mistakes. So you give me that little kid I told you a minute ago, what do you want to be? I want to be a rocket man, I want to be a train driver, whatever. The same kid when he leaves school, what do you want to be? Oh, I don't know. It's full of fear because the schooling system teaches how not to make mistakes.
Yeah.
That's like that's the mental process of how to live your life. If you can look in front of you and see if you've got this problem coming up and you can overcome it before it hits you, then you're going to be successful because you'll be one step ahead. No, you're putting all your focus on problems, and then they teach you to focus on how not to fail your exams, how not to mess up your life, so you focus on everything that you don't want. And then they come out of school and then they've got this mindset. I say most people can have £1 million idea. Every one of us have had them.
Yeah.
But what happens is they'll
really
sit in a chair and they go, like, say for instance, a woman could think, well, you know what? Or a man, this little village ain't got a coffee shop, and I could do a right good trendy coffee shop in here. And it could be a right brilliant idea, and he could have opened a chain of them and had them all around the country. But he goes, yeah, but you know what? I have to run it by the wife because I have to. Time's an issue, with work and that. But if I can give up work and remortgage the house, but then if I'd done that, I'd have to pay the mortgage and this back. They start thinking about all the overcoming things.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. She'd kill me. I'd probably lose the bloody kids. And you know what? I might wait another year and see how I get on next year. I think about it again. And before they've even got up off the chair and researched shop prices, they spoke themselves out of it. They had like £1 million idea, and the schooling system, the mind process, are taught them how to fail. There's no fucking creativity in academic in the way they teach. Yeah. So we teach you all to think the same way. There's a little kid, this is how you spell, this is how you write, this is how you colour in, this is how you shade. And if you don't do it how I teach you, I'm going to mark you as an F. And the 7-year-old goes, what's an F means? You got a failure. Because I don't want to be a failure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
It's crazy the way the schooling system allow us to think like that. Or it's hard because I do get an academic ground. That's how you got to work. If you're working for companies, that's how life goes. The more you look out for mistakes for their business, the more well paid you are, and that's great. But in your own life, you still need vision. You still need to see your goals, your dreams, your holidays. Even if it's your holidays and your holiday home, you're going to work 5 years, 10 years for.
Don't you think it also comes down to a person, though? Because you can have a school that has a failing in that respect, but if you get a teacher who, whatever their background, that really believes in the job that they're doing,
Definitely.
which is to make you or a young person better.
And this is only probably 1%
And it's down to
of the
people.
teachers,
Yeah.
isn't it? Right.
But if you get the right person, like
They
a
can
teacher like
change.
I did,
Yes.
she was a PE teacher, just doing her job, but giving me that sense of belief. So then I've seen it as I've gone around schools doing different roles that I've done. If the head and key teachers have the empowering overarching effect on the young kid, you can get brilliant kids, but most of the time.
I'll tell you what the problem is there. When I speak to school teachers, I've done this a lot. I go, why did you become a school teacher? Now, they'll 9 times out of 10, they go, I've come out of school and I didn't know what I wanted to be. I thought I was good at maths. I thought, well, I might as well be a maths teacher. That was it. That's 90% of them, right? Honestly, I swear to God, ask them when you talk to them, right? Then you get the odd one who's a brilliant teacher, like your teacher who guided you. I had an English teacher. I used to think she was a bitch, but I loved her because she was strict on me. But she was the only class I didn't bunk because she was strict. I had respect for her, and she did always encourage me and made me feel that I could do it.
Yeah.
And my ADHD's kicked in now. I hate that this happens. I've got ADHD. I think 500 things I'm getting excited about talking about this.
English teacher.
And English teacher. And what was the reason talking about her for? Oh yeah, she's
a person.
So she was a good person for me to move forward. So and I do believe that you get that teacher. That's what I was going to say. You get a teacher in the school. Primary school, you have that one teacher, she might like an orange jumper and knits her own clothes and that, but she's happy as low because you ask her, why did you become a teacher? She goes, oh, I love reading books now. And as a kid, I wanted to be a school teacher. I always thought I'd love to be a teacher one day. And she's that teacher that you all love. You know what I mean? She'd turn a blind eye to something, and she knew how to make you feel that you was part of something, and that you was a grown up even though you weren't. And that's the teacher, the visionary.
Yeah.
Now, it ain't about money. It's about she's successful. She's living an enriched life, you know what I mean? And
she's doing what she wants to do. Maybe she's fulfilled her life though.
Some
teachers that are good have fulfilled their life. That's what their destiny.
That's their vision.
So they're happy to do that.
Yeah,
it's ones that maybe aren't really
I'm
into
academic, or I'm good at English, might go and do it. It's like, come on, get creative. And
I wish I'd listened a little bit more, I have to say that.
And me.
No, I do business, I'm like, what was maths? Oh.
Yeah, but it's a mad old world, isn't it? What's wrong and what's right, it all depends on the person as well.
Yeah, I suppose you've got to have, like you have all these different people all over the world that have done extraordinary things, no matter what their background is, and they're the people that we look up to that create our dreams again, Definitely. So if you've got sport, it's a sports person, you don't look at their education, their background, you don't look at it, you just see an achievement of somebody doing well, and it's a believable fate then, and anyone in business, as well, whatever, those people, they could have had such a tough journey up, but as a young person, you don't know any of that, do you? No. You just see someone successful, and you kind of hope, Is
that old Roger? Was it Roger Bannister?
Yeah. 4 minute mile.
Yeah, and I think it was something like 200 years, I think I heard somewhere, they were trying to break the 4 minute mile and they said it couldn't be done. And then old Roger Bannister done it, and I think it was something like 20, once he done it, and see, he could see it in his mind, he was the first person to see it in himself doing it, the visionary. Then within, I think it was 2 months, there was something like 12 other runners beat it.
Oh yeah,
because once they see it possible, their belief changed.
Yeah.
Well, if I beat Roger Bannister before in a race, so if he can do it, and all of a sudden, it's like 12 people, 200 years they couldn't do it. So it shows you can, as you just said, you can get the vision from someone else. It's not a problem, but as long as you get the vision, it's okay to have role models, but don't, you've got to be, the thing is, I think you've got to visualise yourself as a better them at some point.
Yeah, you can't visualise as being the same, because otherwise you're not going to go on that same journey or platform, are you? No. Like you say, about being a singer or writer or whatever, you're never going to go on that same journey. So you can be inspired by somebody, but you can't copy everything they do. You've got to have your own vision. You've got to be like better. So what does that mean? So you've got to learn what they've done and how they've got it.
That's what evolution is, isn't it? Taking past learnings and moving forward. So anything you could, any advice you give anyone listening in to mindset and moving forward, what would you sort of advise people at the moment going through this time?
Well, it's just, having that power, self-belief is really important, having those dreams and visions and ideas, but actually believing that you're going to get them and you're going to have them, and not kind of just going through a journey like most people, having a barrier or kind of a box that you're in and worrying that you're never going to get outside that box. It's kind of, if you believe something, you're halfway to getting it. Those that believe nothing never start.
That's exactly true. So there you've heard it there, first hand from double gold medalist Dame Kelly Holmes, who I can't thank enough for today. I'm really honoured and appreciate it, because like you just said, in the podcast you said about, you couldn't believe it, you was around these gold medalists. Well, I'm here with you, so I feel the same. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're not allowed to touch hands, but we can give it a little elbow.
Come on, just
we're allowed to. Hey. Thank you very much,
Thank
Kelly.
you.
Thank you very much. So we'll see you next week on the MindKite podcast.